Greetings and salutations, my friends, and welcome to a new video. Today I bring you a little book haul, and I am quite literally titling this video Little Book Haul, because when I say little, it is a tiny little bit of a book haul. I have got 8 different books to show you today. Books that I'm going to be reading somewhat immediately, like very soon. Some for reading projects that I have got for June. I've got them lined up, got them scheduled. My reading is all sorted out in my calendar, and I know some of these I'll be getting to really soon. Some of these are book club picks for Patreon that I also got quite recently just because my packages were delayed. And I thought because I got essentially 8 different books at the same time, I would hop on, show you guys exactly what these books are, and kind of chat a little bit about them, see if maybe you've read them, what you thought about them. Just like I love to share, I love when you guys share in the comments as well so that I can peep it, I can read it, I can reply to it. So if you've gotten anything recently, if you've read any of these books, sound off in the comments and we can get chatting about these. I'm honestly really proud of myself, and I have to say that in this video because I feel and I know that as of recent, and honestly over the past year, I have been getting books and then reading them immediately as I am getting them because I'm being very picky with the books I'm getting physically. It takes a lot in me now to get something physically. It's gotta be something that I'm either really interested in, either a book club pick, something that I am really anticipating giving 5 stars, or something that I know I'm gonna read just like that. Just in a little pinch, because otherwise it's gonna sit here for months, and I don't want that to be the case because, you know, this year we are on TBR reduction duty, which means this is what we're tackling this year. And I want to make sure that by the time 2026 gets here, I am buying books and reading them because there's nothing sitting on my shelves. That would be really nice. And so as that's the project, getting very little books to obviously read what I already own, but some things have gotten here recently, so we can chat about them. But before we get started with today's video, I do have to give a massive shout out to Dossier for partnering with me today, because you guys know I love me a good fragrance, especially one that is affordable but feels and is very luxury, and also ones that smell like my favorite fragrances, but I don't have to break the bank at the time of getting them. The coolest thing about Dossier is the fact that they source the best ingredients from Grasse, France, and so you can trust that everything going inside these fragrances are the best of the best. Not only that, but the people also crafting these scents are people that have immense experience in the most prestigious luxury fragrance companies in the world. So you are literally in the best hands when it comes to Dossier. And not only that, but they also have different collections. So you have got the Dossier Impressions, which are essentially impressions or dupes from really famous fragrances that you might already be aware of. And they also have the Dossier Originals, which are completely new scents by Dossier, so that everybody has got something to choose from. Personally, I run through these like water. This one right here, nearly empty. This one right here, nearly empty. I'm currently working through Free the Musk, which is one of their original scents. I love muskier, woodier scents, and this one really fits the quota for me. However, 2 of my favorites that I am really hoping to restock sometime soon are Floral Berries, the first one, which is an impression of Jo Malone's Peony and Blush Suede, which is one of my all-time favorite fragrances. And then the other one is Gourmand White Flowers, which is actually an impression of Viktor and Rolf's Flower Bomb, another one of my all-time favorite fragrances. However, I can get them at a much more affordable price. They smell the exact same, and I don't have to worry about breaking my bank and paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars for my fragrances. So if you do want to check out Dossier and everything they've got to offer, make sure to click the link in the description, see all of their impressions, see all of their originals, treat yourself to a little nice something if you're into fragrances like myself, because they really do have a little bit for everybody. So don't say I didn't tell you, and we can get started with today's video. And the first book I have on this little haul is actually Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry, which I know one of my friends, Liv, has coined it the Great BBL, and I honestly really love that. So the Great BBL is here on my shelves, and I'm reading it before the month ends. I am really excited to get to this. It's obviously Emily Henry's new release. I got the Barnes exclusive edition because I thought the pink was extra pretty in comparison to the regular version. So this is the one I ended up getting, and I also really love the end papers. I don't know if these are the end papers for every single edition, but this gingham effect I'm really vibing with. So I'm really excited to get to this one. It definitely seems like the type of Emily Henry book that might be heavy on the everything but the romance, and then the romance kind of just happens as the main storyline is developing, rather than heavy emphasis on the romance while the plot happens in the background of that romance. But I'll find out when I get there. I know it's been incredibly polarizing ever since it came out. I have been seeing so many mixed reviews on this book. It doesn't seem like there's a general consensus about whether this book is considered good or bad by audience's standards. So I think it's going to be a really interesting one to get into, just because it's all over the place when it comes to the ratings. And because this is my Patreon book club pick, I also know it's very much all over the place given how people are reacting to the book as they're reading it. So it's definitely been an interesting time kind of seeing all of the reviews roll in. It sort of reminds me of when Book Lovers came out, and it definitely had a heavier emphasis on everything but the romance, and people really weren't expecting it, just given how Emily Henry's books have happened, where it tends to be a pretty even balance of both. However, I think the overall premise of this is so interesting. We follow our main two characters, Alice and Hayden, who are both writers in their respective rights. Alice is much more unknown than Hayden, whereas he's a Pulitzer Prize winner, but they're both contacted by this socialite that hasn't been seen in a really long time, who has been known to be in the tabloids as part of a really famous family of the 20th century, and both of them have the opportunity to write her memoir, her autobiography moment, and so they're invited to spend some time with her, get to know her, and essentially be told the real story of her life, except that she isn't telling either of them the full story, so they're both getting bits and pieces, but they have signed an NDA, so it's really complicated to kind of put a full image together. Obviously, our main character, Alice, is hoping to impress her family by a really serious publishing instead of what she's been publishing in the past, but it doesn't seem quite possible with the dynamic they've got going on. And obviously, our main characters are also developing feelings for each other, and it's really complicated in the midst of trying to figure out who's gonna win the opportunity to write this for this girly pop, because it's either one or the other, but it's not gonna be both, and it's not gonna be them together. And I think it sounds so different to what Emily Henry has done in the past. It sounds so very interesting. I think it sounds much more like a literary fiction to me than it does an actual romance. So I'm really interested to see how it's all going to develop as the story goes along. I'll keep you guys updated. Obviously, you'll probably see this in a wrap up, maybe bits and pieces in a vlog. You never really know, but I have the hope that this will be a good one. So maybe Emily Henry will deliver with this one. And I'm hoping that that's the case, because I obviously own it physically, so I'm hoping to give this at least like a 4 to a 4.5 star. That would be lovely. A book you might have already seen enter my collection if you watched my 5-star prediction video I uploaded recently, but that's Kiki's Delivery Service. I recently got the Fairy Loot edition I'd ordered a while back. Obviously, with Fairy Loot orders, they'll put up a pre-order for when the book has been announced. You'll get the book, and then you'll be waiting months to get that copy. However, this edition is absolutely beautiful in comparison to, obviously, you know, the regular cover that is commercialized in bookstores. I really love what they did with this, like the reflective font. I really love these stenciled edges that they did for the book. They're absolutely ridiculous. You've obviously got some really whimsy end papers, as well as a really pretty naked hardback. I think just the overall composition of this book, I think every aspect of this is gorgeous, because you know, sometimes you get a special edition and you like aspects of it, but not all of it. This is an overall win, so I think money well spent. And although I've watched the Kiki's Delivery Service movie, I have never actually read the book. And you guys know I love Studio Ghibli. In fact, one of my missions this year is to watch every single Ghibli film that has been released thus far. I'm still missing quite a few. And enough so that I do have a Totoro tattoo, and I'm also just realized wearing my Ghibli, my Ghibli hoodie. So as if that wasn't enough, hi, I'm Mel, and I love Studio Ghibli. And so I think it's a crime that I have never read any of the books that have inspired the films. Have never read When Morning Was There, have not read Howl's, have not read Kiki's. Think there's so much material out there. Maybe we could do like a little Studio Ghibli reading vlog. I feel like that could be really fun. Maybe. If you want that, let me know in the comments. However, that to say, with Kiki's Delivery Service, we follow our main character, Kiki, who is a witch, and following the tradition of when a witch turns 13 years old, and they essentially leave the town that they grew up in, they have to go ahead and find a town in need of magic. And as she lands in the town of Koriko, she thinks that you know, everything will go well really smoothly. People will take up to her magic really well, and she'll be able to help everybody around. The townspeople are not really welcoming, and she realizes that earning the trust of people is not so simple, and you're gonna have to really work for it. Try and fit in as best as possible and carve yourself a spot at a place that you don't really know and that you've never been to. She's obviously accompanied by her sidekick, Gigi, who is her cat. And so I'm very excited to read this in due time. I think it'll be the coziest little time ever. So when I am in need of a little pick-me-up, I think this will be the book that I go to very, very soon, because I've been anticipating reading this for a really long time. And now with this edition, I really have no excuses. Just thinking about this book makes me want to giggle my little ass off. I'm so excited to read this book. I think I'm gonna love it. I hope I love it. Every book so far in this series has been a 5-star, and this author has yet to disappoint me, and that is Can't Get Enough by Kennedy Ryan. This is the 3rd book in the Skyland series, and we finally have got Hendrix's book. Hendrix has got to be one of my, if not my favorite character in the Skyland series, even though I think it was kind of obvious that she would get her own book just because she's part of the main character trifecta. She is part of the friend group. I have been thinking about how great of a protagonist she would make, just given the circumstances and how I think close to home this book will hit. And so we follow our main character, Hendrix, who is the biggest goal-getter. She has got the career, she has got the money, she has got the success, she has got no time for bullshit, no time for messing around. In fact, much less so, because she is taking care of her sick parent. Her mother is not doing so well, and she is going back and forth between her city and her mom's in order to really take care of her. And in the middle of all of that, there is no room for romance. Even though she really yearns for it and she'd really love it, she doesn't really think that that'll give her the ROI that she expects, that return of investment, baby. So she isn't really focused on that. However, at one random party, she ends up meeting a tech mogul by the name of Maverick, and they really hit it off at the party. It doesn't only seem that he's really easygoing and that they really have a lot of chemistry, but that he's also very understanding of her circumstances and that he's really into her. She pushes him away because it all kind of scares her, and she again doesn't think that she's got room for it, except that his pursuit of her is strong, and that makes her wonder if it's finally time to let go and to just have one more thing that she's been yearning for. I think, I mean, first of all, length of the book. This book is gonna be so good. It's, how long? 400 pages? Please say yes. It's over 400 pages, baby. Let's go. I think this is going to be a beautiful installment. If Kennedy Ryan is anything to go by, I mean, I've sobbed with every single one of her books. I'm going to cry with this as well. And again, I just think there's something about Hendrix's character and her spirit that just really resonates with me, that I think by the time I walk into this and I read her story and I read about her and Maverick falling in love and every circumstance surrounding that, I will just love every bit of this book and be crying my eyes out while I do so. At least that's my hope. I obviously don't want to have them too high, but listen, every book in this series has been a 5-star. It's hard to not have my expectations up, so I'm hoping this is every bit as good as book 1 and book 2. Would you look at that? We have got Full Metal Alchemist Volume 3. Are you surprised? Maybe not. I did give Volumes 1 and 2 a 5-star, which is a hard thing to do when it comes to a manga series, because those tend to be really up and down and it's a little bit of a roller coaster ride. However, so far, it's been really consistent with how it's making me feel and the way that I'm really enjoying it. And so I decided to go ahead and get Volume 3, also in the Full Metal edition, which is the hardcover. I am really hoping that I love the series enough and I continue with it and that I finish it so that I can have a full little shelf just right here full of just the series. It's gonna look so good. The spines are beautiful. They all line up really nicely. Listen, a girl's got a dream and a hope, and I'm hoping it's true. It seems that in every video I've made recently, I've been talking about Full Metal Alchemist, and you know what? I won't stop, because how many volumes are there of this thing? Like 16? So for maybe the next 8 months you're gonna hear me rave about Full Metal Alchemist. I mean, I'm hoping that's the case. But essentially in Full Metal Alchemist, we follow a set of brothers, Edward and Alphonse, who are both alchemists, and in an alchemical ritual gone wrong, Edward decides to make a very risky choice, a very risky move in order to keep both him and his brother alive. And in the midst of doing so, he loses his arm and a leg, whilst his brother loses his entire physical body. And in order to keep his brother around, he decides to bind his soul to that of a metal armor. And as their story continues, their mission really is to reestablish their bodies to what they once were. However, alchemy is a very tricky science, and it demands something in return of it giving you something. It's a give and take. However, their journey is not so easy. It involves the Philosopher's Stone. It also seemingly involves Princes of Hell, and it's all getting so very convoluted and interesting when you get into the politics and the world building of the series. It's just so deeply fascinating because it's so well done. I recently found out that the author for Full Metal Alchemist is a girly pop, which we do love a girly pop mangaka. I think that is so sick, especially because it's a very male-dominated space, and the way that the characters are constructed in this and the relationship between the brothers has definitely been one of my favorite elements of the series thus far. It just all feels very tangible in a world of wonder and a world of so many different insane developments, and the characters tend to keep that very grounded, which I personally prefer. And so you get the best of both worlds. You get a really fantastical world while still getting a very emotionally compelling and driven story. And so I can't wait to keep on going with this. Again, obviously had to get myself volume 3, and I am hoping that the case is that I continue to collect them and read them as I get them, because I think it's gonna not only be very fun, but again, my shelf. I have a vision. I have a vision, and I want it to be true. Another book you might have seen in my 5-star predictions video if you watched that is A Love Song for Ricky Wilde by Tia Williams, which I also recently got because I've been craving good romances. But when I say a good romance, what I really mean is something that's well-rounded. Yes, you have got the romantic portion of the book, which is always really fun, and you know, I'm a hopeless romantic, so I like to read about those things, but I also really like the characters to feel realistic, have their own separate personality and life and set of struggles that they are facing that might interconnect to the romance and to the other person or not. I love seeing characters go on their individual journey whilst also going on one together and figuring out where to meet in the middle. And the only other Tia Williams book that I have read very much gave me that. And so I bought this one physically because I really want to read it, and I want to have this obviously on my shelves to pick up very, very soon. And this book, from my understanding, deals with the magic of leap years, which I think is really curious, very exciting. I don't know exactly what that means, but I guess we'll find out and we'll get there. There's also an element of these characters' romance developing over the course of 100 years. I don't know what that means exactly, but I'm sure it's tied to the leap year portion of the magical realism of this romance book. It all sounds really crazy when I say it out loud, but I have trust in Tia Williams that she'll make sure to figure something out to make it work. But we follow our main character, Ricky Wilde, who doesn't really adhere to the norm of her family. They are Atlanta royalty. They're well-known socialites. It's a very wealthy family. And although they have a very specific set of standards that they abide by as being part of this family, she doesn't really take up to it. Like, she doesn't really care for it, which is why when she gets the opportunity to rent a Harlem brownstone in New York, she takes up the opportunity, she moves to New York City, and she ends up setting up her own flower shop, which has always been her dream. It's always been that one goal that she had that, again, normatively goes against what her family would do. And it is very much in that same spot that she ends up meeting this mysterious guy that she ends up taking a liking to, and the story goes from there. I don't really know any other specifics beyond that. It's just like the very baseline. I'm still kind of confused about how this will work out. She has given me one other 5-star before, and I just have trust. Tia Williams also recently put out a YA book that I think sounds really fun. And although I'm not really reading YA too often. I think it'd be the type of book that I could vibe with. And so I'm thinking about it. I'm turning it over in my head. When I'm ready, I'll get it. But I'm turning it over in my head, you know? I'm like, it sounds really good. I think it's Audrey and Bash or Just Friends or something like that. Cover's really pretty. It looks really good. But let me get through this first and then we can think about that. If it wasn't YA, I wouldn't think twice about it. But Tia Williams makes it really, really enticing. Next up, I have got one of my most anticipated releases of the year and also one of my Patreon book club picks for May, but also bridging into June because it's a bi-monthly book club, and that is The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. I am really hopeful that I am going to like this one. I think the premise sounds really freaking cool and like the type of book that I would really enjoy. I also didn't realize we would have really cool end papers. Like, what is this, brother? What is that? Oh my god, wait! I didn't realize my copy would look like this. I literally just opened the book and I didn't even realize that these were what the end papers looked like. I think this is sick as hell. If all goes to hell, literally. At least the book is really pretty, which I was not expecting. For Joe Abercrombie, I was expecting this to be the blandest little hardback. And why is it so cute? The way the synopsis sets up this book is that we live in a time, obviously in the book, where elves are craving human flesh and where princes are essentially just looking after themselves and nobody else, which honestly sounds like every prince ever and every person in a position of power I have ever fucking seen. But you know what? That's a conversation for a different time. Which is why our main character, Brother Diaz, has been summoned to the sacred city in order to help out with all of these situations at hand, I will assume, except that the crew he gets assigned to is not necessarily what he was expecting. He gets assigned to murderers and little demons and just people and things in general he was not expecting to collaborate with on this specific mission. But if there is anything that's true, is that this mission might require unholy deeds, but he does have the devils by his side. That's what the synopsis says. I don't know what any of this means. I think it just sounds like a really good time. And I've never read a Joe Abercrombie book, so I got no idea what to expect. Please make sure this is a good time. Please don't disappoint me. I got nothing to say beyond that, to be quite honest with you. But it is an anticipated release, so it's here and it's ready to get read very, very soon. Then something really interesting happened, and the reason why I say it's interesting, it's because you guys know I recently did an on-haul, right? Might have watched it, might have not. It's up on the channel if you want to watch it. Just it's up there. It's up there if you want it. During that video, during the little on-haul stream I did on Patreon, which if you do want to watch the whole on-haul stream, Patreon is linked down below, girlfriend. I'm just saying you might not want to miss out on that because it really is a good time over there. I thought about unhauling a very specific book that I've had on my shelves for a while because I'm like, do I want to read it? Do I not want to read it? It seems like my cup of tea if it's done well, but if it's done not well, then like it's gonna be a really awful time. And I don't have any experiences with this author, so I really don't have anything to base myself by. And it just seems to be the type of book that could be really trashy in like a good way, or like really trashy in like a I'm gonna pull my hair out way. And so what I ended up doing was that I pulled out the book from my normal regular TBR shelves and I set it aside for a little read it or unhaul it. And it's essentially going to be a read it or unhaul it, like the ultimatum edition. And these are books that I'm genuinely giving an ultimatum to. You'll see that very soon. And these are books that I am not pulling out of my read it or unhaul it jar. I'm just simply picking them out of my shelves because I'm thinking about getting rid of them. But I kind of want to give them a somewhat fair shot before I decide to, because I am very curious about them before I let them go. And the book in question is Throttled by Lauren Asher, which I received from Bloom Books very recently, and I already have a copy. Not only did I receive the first book, I received the rest of the series, girlfriend. All of them. All four of every single one of them. Which, I mean, thank you to Bloom Books for sending these over. This is great. This is fantastic. This feels like both a sign and a call out to make sure that video gets done so that I can figure out whether the rest of the series is staying or what I'm gonna do with this, because I don't know at present if I'm going to like Throttled or the, what is it called? The Dirty Air series? Yes. So in theory, why I say I could like this, it's because this is a Formula One romance series. Fast cars? Baby, I grew up in the era of Fast and Furious, okay? Somos una familia. Listen, are the movies particularly good? Absolutely not. But like, do I watch them? Absolutely yes. That little bald-headed dude, I will watch every single Fast and Furious movie they do if he breaks the floor with his special powers, if they go to fucking space in a fucking space car in a Lamborghini. Baby, I'm there. I'm sad. They're not good, but let's do it. And also, why is the best one Tokyo Drift? You can fight me in the comment section. Because I grew up watching Fast and Furious, I did go through a whole phase back when I was reading heavily on Wattpad, also known as when I was in middle grade and a teenager. And I would read a ton of like Formula One, fast car, illegal race drives kind of romances. And I used to love those types of books. Like, I would eat them, gobble them up. So in theory, this sounds like something I would like. It's just the execution that scares me. As I'm saying, Formula One romance, the very first book, Throttled, deals with our main character, Mia, I believe her name is, Maya. I was close. It starts with an M and it ends with an A. And it doesn't have an I, but it does have a Y. Potato, potato. Point is, we follow our main character, Maya, and her love interest, Noah, who is her brother's biggest F1 rival. And so they're not supposed to get along. They're not supposed to be together. So it's like a little bit of like a forbidden romance thrown in with the competitive sport of racing cars. And racing cars, what? Race cars. Why do I get racing cars? Race cars. It sounds interesting, in theory. So it's gonna be an ultimatum episode of Read It or Unhaul It, and we'll go from there. I don't know what the rest of these books are about though. Like I know the first one because I've owned it for a while, but Sophie, Liam is Formula One's golden boy, but he's nothing but a fraud. Ooh, why? Ooh, Sophie is my greatest fantasy brought to life, and a major threat to my contract renewal. What did she do? Okay, that sounds interesting. I'm not gonna lie. Then there's Wrecked, which is the third one. This is Jax and Elena. Jax, who is apparently an addict, and Elena, who is his babysitter. I don't know, he's British, might be hot. Then the last one, the fourth one, Redeemed. And this one is Santiago and Chloe. One mistake destroys my career, and I go from the most eligible Formula One driver to a grumpy recluse. Listen, is this an opportunity to picture James Buchanan, Bucky Barnes? Maybe. I love me a good tortured hero. Anyways, point is, I now have the whole series. Stay tuned and find out to see what happens, because I don't even know. I don't even know what's gonna happen, but honestly, they look pretty as hell. Lined up together, I hope I like these. Now I'm rooting for it. I had no hope for it, but suddenly, oh my god, I have all four of them. Oh, don't mind me if I like them. And then a little special book sent by a little special someone, The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. Do I know entirely what this is about? No. I've heard the names Nine Fingers and Glockta. I don't know who the nobleman is. And a wizard. An infamous barbarian. A dashing officer. A torturer. The plot thickens. A bald old man. Vin Diesel, is that you? La Familia. Murderous conspiracies rise to the surface. Old scores are ready to be settled, and the line between hero and villain is sharp enough to draw blood. Exciting! This is one of those books that I think the less I know, the better. Honestly, I don't want to psych myself out. For some reason, the first Law trilogy seems like something I could like, but it's so deeply intimidating that I think the less I know of it and the more I keep an open mind, I think the better it'll be. I have it on good faith by one of my friends, by one of the besties, that this is gonna be really good. She loves it. It's a favorite of hers. And so I'm hoping she doesn't do me wrong with this, okay? And it's gonna be hopefully really good. Let me know if you can guess what this is for. And that is it for today, friends. That is a little book haul. All of the books sitting in the TBR shelf. I obviously have to sort them out accordingly and make sure that they're actually put on the shelves and that they've got their own spaces. However, that's the book haul for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up down below. I also want to know, have you read any of these? Did you like them? What did you think? I would love to know. Have you gotten yourself anything recently? Have you treated yourself to a little something? So let us leave some car emojis if you reach the very end. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. But do make sure to subscribe if you want more content like this. And if you want just more me in general, if you want a really amazing community of like-minded people who love reading, other cozy hobbies, if you want a ton of streams from yours truly. And all jokes aside, it does help the channel a ton, especially with AdSense going up and down and all kind of sideways. It's as much of a roller coaster ride as some of these books will be. And so, all that to be said, it's always linked down below in case you guys want to check it out. No pressure if you don't want to, but Patreon does exist if you ever want to support the channel further. It's a massive help, so it's always there. I love you guys the absolute mostest, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye, sis!